The Galactic Council had existed for thousands of years. It was a place where different alien species from across the stars came together to talk, trade, and keep peace. 47 different species belonged to the Council, and they all had one thing in common. They came from safe, comfortable worlds with gentle weather and plenty of food. They were scientists, traders, and diplomats. They were not fighters. When the Krell swarm appeared from the dark edges of space, everything changed. The Krell did not want to talk or trade. They only wanted to consume. They attacked planets one by one, taking everything and leaving nothing behind but dead rocks floating in space. Ambassador Telran stood in the Council's great hall, his crystal-like skin glowing with worry. He was a Viridian, one of the founding species of the Council. Today he brought terrible news. The colony on Epsilon 7 has stopped responding to our calls, Telran said to the gathered ambassadors. That makes 12 worlds we have lost in the last 40 days. The Krell are moving faster than we expected. Our defense fleets cannot stop them. Counselor Mira, a bird-like alien with soft purple feathers, spoke next. We need military help, but who can we ask? The Dravak Confederation already said no. The Zarathian Empire is too far away to reach us in time. The hall fell silent. Nobody had an answer. The species of the Council were peaceful. They had small defense forces that protected trade routes from pirates, but nothing that could fight a real war. They were like sheep facing wolves, and they knew it. A young Viridian aide named Kellis raised her hand nervously. There is one species we have not contacted yet. The humans from Earth. Several counselors made sounds of alarm. Others looked away uncomfortably. The Deathworlders, Telran said, his voice shaking slightly. They have only been part of our council for 10 years. We barely know anything about them. We know they come from a Class 12 death world, Mira said quietly. We know their planet tries to kill them every single day, and yet they survive. We know they have something they call a military, and it is much bigger than any of our defense forces. Another counselor interrupted. We also know they are dangerous. They are violent and unpredictable. Kelly spoke up again, this time more boldly. We are dying. Perhaps we need dangerous right now. Telran thought about this for a long moment. His people were dying. Millions had already been killed by the Krell. More would die soon if nothing changed. Maybe the young aide was right. Maybe they needed predators to fight predators. Send the distress call to Earth, Telran finally said. I hope we do not regret this decision. Captain Jake Morrison was 34 years old and had been a soldier since he was 18. He had served in the Army, the Navy, and the Marines before joining the new Earth Space Navy. Now he commanded the ESS Valiant, one of Earth's newest warships. He was on the bridge checking reports when the message arrived. Captain, we have a priority message from the Galactic Council, said Lieutenant Lucy Chen from her station. Put it on screen, Morrison replied. The image of Ambassador Telran appeared. Even through the translation device, Morrison could hear the fear and desperation in the alien's voice. Telran explained about the Krell swarm, about the destroyed colonies, about millions of dead civilians. He asked Earth for help. When the message ended, Morrison turned to his second-in-command, Commander Alex Torres. Torres was a tough man with a scar on his jaw from his time as a Marine. What do you think? Morrison asked. Torres smiled. I think we finally get to show these aliens what humans do best. Morrison nodded. Lieutenant Chen, send a message to Earth Command. Tell them we accept the Council's request. Then send a reply to Ambassador Telran. Tell him help is coming. What else should I say, sir? Chen asked. Morrison's face became hard and serious. Tell him we are not sending diplomats. 3 Earth days later, the human fleet arrived at the edge of the Viridian star system. The Council's sensors detected them immediately, and what they saw terrified them. 16 warships had come from Earth. Each one was covered in weapons. The ships had scars and marks on their hulls, and the Council's computers identified these as victory symbols and kill counts. The humans marked their ships every time they won a battle. They paint their ships with their victories, Mira whispered in horror. These are not explorers. These are hunters. Captain Morrison's face appeared on screens throughout the Council building. He wore a dark blue uniform and stood with military bearing. Ambassador Telran, this is Captain Jake Morrison of the Earth Space Navy. We received your call for help. Where do you need us? Telran tried to keep his voice steady. Captain Morrison, the Krell fleet is moving toward the Lyra system. It is a civilian colony with 6 million people. They are trying to evacuate, but their ships are too slow. The Krell will reach them in less than 2 days. Morrison's jaw tightened. Understood. We will intercept them. Morrison out. The human fleet immediately changed direction and began accelerating. The Council's sensor operators stared at their screens in disbelief. The human ships were moving at speeds that should be impossible. The acceleration forces should crush any living crew. How are they surviving those forces? Kellis asked. Their technology must be better than ours, Telrin suggested, though he did not sound sure. But technology was only part of it. Inside the human ships, the crews were feeling the acceleration. Their bodies were pressed hard into their seats. The forces would kill most Council species instantly, but humans had evolved on a planet with strong gravity. Their bones were thick and heavy. Their muscles were powerful. Their hearts and blood vessels were built to handle pressure. They were built for this kind of stress. Lieutenant Danny Wright checked his weapons display. Captain, I count about 200 Krell ships heading for Lyra. They outnumber us 12-1. Morrison glanced at Torres. Remember what they taught us in the academy? Torres grinned. Never tell me the odds. Close enough. All ships, this is Morrison. Battle stations. We are going in. The Krell swarm detected the human fleet when it was still far from the Lyra system. The Krell were insect-like creatures that shared a hive mind. They calculated the situation in seconds. 16 ships against 200. The outcome was obvious, but the Krell did not understand human tactics. As the two fleets got close enough to fight, the human ships suddenly scattered in different directions. It looked like chaos. The Krell moved to surround the smaller human force, confident in their victory. That was when the humans struck back. The ESS Valiant and 3 smaller ships dove toward the planet. They used the planet's gravity to slingshot around it at incredible speeds. They came out on the other side right in the middle of the Krell formation with all weapons firing. Human railguns fired metal slugs at nearly the speed of light. Each projectile hit with the force of a nuclear bomb. Krell ships simply exploded, their organic armor useless against such power. The other 12 human ships executed a classic military maneuver. 8 ships formed a defensive wall with their point defense guns creating a barrier of fire that nothing could pass through. The other 4 ships circled around and attacked the Krell from behind. Target their command ships, Morrison ordered. Without them, the drones lose coordination. Locking missiles now, sir. The missiles that launched from the Valiant were marvels of human engineering. They had artificial intelligence that let them dodge and weave. They had nuclear warheads. They could change course in microseconds. 4 Krell command carriers exploded in the first attack, their insides burning with nuclear fire. The battle lasted 47 minutes. When it ended, the Krell swarm was destroyed. The human fleet had damage on 3 ships, but no one had died. On Viridian Prime, the Council members watched recordings of the battle in complete silence. They had never seen anything like this. They move like pack hunters, Mira finally said. Coordinated and efficient. They do not hesitate. They fight like they were born for war, Telrin added. Kellis brought up more data on her screen. I have been studying their tactics. Every move, every weapon, everything is designed for one purpose. To kill as efficiently as possible. They come from a world that tried to kill them, Telrin said quietly. And instead of dying, they became the deadliest creatures on their entire planet. What have we invited into our galaxy? Captain Morrison's face appeared on their screens again. Ambassador Telrin, the Lyra system is safe. All civilian ships got away. We are ready for the next mission. Telrin had to take a deep breath before answering. Captain, your performance was beyond anything we expected. The Council is grateful. Just doing our job, Ambassador. We understand the main Krell fleet is gathering near the Antares Nebula. We would like to take the fight to them. Captain, our intelligence says the main fleet has over 3,000 ships. Morrison smiled, and it was not a friendly smile. Good. That means we will have plenty of targets. We will coordinate with your fleets and make a plan. Morrison out. As the transmission ended, Mira turned to Telrin. We asked for aid. We asked for peacekeepers and defenders. And instead we got humanity, Telrin finished. We got Deathworlders who see impossible odds as just another challenge. Will they save us or destroy us? Telran watched the human fleet regrouping on his screen, already preparing for the next battle. Perhaps both, but right now they are the only hope we have. 3 weeks had passed since the battle at Lyra. The war with the Krell had changed completely. The Krell swarm had seemed unstoppable before, but now they faced an enemy they could not understand. The humans fought with skill and cleverness that confused the Krell's hive mind. Commander Alex Torres stood in the briefing room of the ESS Valiant, talking to the other ship captains through holographic communication. Intelligence reports say the Krell are changing their tactics. They are avoiding direct fights with us now. Instead, they attack undefended systems while our fleet is somewhere else. Captain Lisa Hayes of the ESS Ranger spoke up. She was a blonde woman with sharp eyes and quick reflexes. They are trying to make us spread out across too much space. Classic guerrilla warfare. Exactly, Torres agreed. That is why Captain Morrison has a new plan. We are going to make the Krell think we have spread out, but really we will be ready to strike fast whenever they attack. The plan was bold and risky. The human fleet would split into 4 groups, each appearing to patrol a different area of space. But secretly, rapid response teams would hide at carefully chosen locations, ready to jump to any system the Krell attacked. It required perfect timing and excellent coordination. It was the kind of plan that only worked if your crews could think for themselves and adapt quickly without waiting for orders. It was a very human kind of plan. On Viridian Prime, Ambassador Telrin had asked to meet privately with Captain Morrison. They sat in a quiet room designed for meetings between different species. "Captain, I must be honest with you," Telrin began, his crystal skin showing patterns of embarrassment. "When we sent that distress call to Earth, many of us secretly hoped you would ignore it. We were afraid of your people." Morrison leaned back in his chair. "And now? Now we are still afraid, but we are also grateful. Your people fight with abilities we cannot understand. Tell me, Captain, where does this come from? This constant readiness for battle?" Morrison was quiet for a moment, thinking carefully about his answer. "Ambassador, Earth is not a gentle world. Our ancestors fought dangerous predators with only sticks and stones. They survived ice ages and diseases that should have killed them all. For thousands of years, humans fought each other over land, food, and ideas. War has been part of our history whether we like it or not. That sounds like a terrible way to live. It was terrible. It still can be. But it taught us something important. It taught us how to survive when everything wants us dead, how to adapt to any situation, how to never give up even when we should lose." Morrison looked directly at the ambassador. "You asked for help, and we came because we have been where you are now. Facing extinction with nowhere to turn. We survived because we learned to fight. Now we are teaching the Krell the same lesson humanity learned long ago." "What lesson is that?" Morrison's expression became hard as steel. "That Deathworlders never quit." The Krell made their move 3 days later. They launched attacks on 4 different systems at the exact same time. Their hive mind calculated that the human forces could not defend all 4 places adequately. They calculated wrong. Lieutenant Danny Wright was monitoring the tactical displays when the alerts came in. "Captain, Krell forces are attacking Meridian 4 Outpost Zeta, the Helion Belt, and..." He paused, his face going pale. "And Viridian Prime." Morrison's eyes narrowed dangerously. "They are going for the Council homeworld. All ships execute Plan Omega. Valiant, Ranger, and Defiant will go to Viridian Prime. Everyone else handle the other targets. Move now!" The human response was immediate and devastating. Ships that appeared to be on distant patrols suddenly activated stealth systems and appeared from behind moons and asteroids. Some even came out of gas giants where they had been hiding. Within minutes, human warships were fighting Krell forces at all 4 locations simultaneously. At Viridian Prime, the Krell had sent their biggest force. Over 800 ships, including 6 massive supercarriers. The planetary defense fleet fought bravely but was losing badly. Ships exploded one after another. The evacuation of civilians had started but would not finish in time. Then the Valiant arrived. Captain Morrison stood on his bridge, his crew working with smooth efficiency around him. Status report. Krell forces are breaking through the outer defenses. The Council fleet has lost 30% of their ships. Civilian evacuation will not complete in time. Then we buy them time. Lucy, open a channel to all Krell vessels. Lieutenant Chen looked surprised but did as ordered. "Channel open, sir." Morrison spoke clearly and coldly. "Krell Swarm. This is Captain Jake Morrison of Earth. You have entered a system under our protection. You have 1 chance to leave. If you do not leave, we will destroy you." There was no response. The Krell did not negotiate. They did not understand surrender or mercy. "I expected that," Morrison said. "All ships, you are free to fire at will. Show them why Earth is a death world." What happened next was not just a battle. It was a demonstration of human warfare at its most efficient and deadly. The Valiant charged forward, its railguns firing in a steady rhythm like thunder. Each shot was perfectly calculated to hit weak points in Krell, armor that human computers had identified through thousands of simulations and previous battles. The Ranger and Defiant split away from the main group, moving in unpredictable patterns that made it impossible for the Krell to target them accurately. Their missile batteries launched wave after wave of smart weapons, each one able to rewrite its own programming in microseconds to avoid defenses. But what the humans did next shocked everyone watching from the council chambers. Commander Lisa Hayes, captain of the Ranger, noticed a pattern in how the Krell ships were positioned. Captain Morrison, if we could destroy their coordination nodes, the entire swarm would lose organization. Can you get close enough to do it? Only one way to find out. What Hayes did next would be remembered forever. She flew the Ranger directly into the center of the Krell formation, using enemy ships as cover and shields. The Ranger's defensive guns worked constantly, shooting down incoming fire while Hayes manually piloted through gaps that her computer said were too narrow to survive. She was flying on pure instinct, using skills learned from years of training and the uniquely human ability to make instant decisions in complete chaos. She found the coordination node, a huge biological structure at the center of the swarm, and fired every weapon she had at point-blank range. The result was catastrophic for the Krell. With their coordination destroyed, the swarm's ships began firing randomly. They hit each other as much as they hit human ships. Their formation fell apart into complete chaos. The human fleet used the confusion without mercy. They targeted and destroyed Krell ships one after another with surgical precision. In the council chambers, Telrin and the other ambassadors watched everything in real time. They watched Captain Morrison personally pilot the Valiant through a field of debris at speeds that should have torn his ship apart. They watched human crews work for hours without rest, their endurance far beyond what any council species could manage. They are not just warriors, Mira said, her voice filled with awe. They are survivors. Every instinct, every skill, every piece of technology they have is designed to keep them alive in a universe that wants them dead. And we share a galaxy with them, another counselor said nervously. Kellis, who had been studying human culture for weeks, spoke up. I have been reading their history. Do you know what humans do after their wars end? Celebrate their victories? Someone guessed. Sometimes. But more often they rebuild. They help their former enemies recover. They offer friendship to those who tried to destroy them. They have a word for it. Peace. For humans, peace is not just the absence of war. It is an active choice to create something better. Telrin thought about this. You are saying these Deathworlders, these beings who are so good at violence, are also good at compassion? I am saying they are complicated. They can destroy, but they can also create. They can hate, but they can also love. They are full of contradictions, and that is what makes them survivors. On the view screen, the battle was ending. The Krell fleet was retreating, leaving behind only wreckage and defeat. 2 months after the Battle of Viridian Prime, the war with the Krell swarm was over. The humans had not just defeated the Krell, they had driven them back beyond the edge of known space and built a defense network to prevent their return. Captain Morrison stood before the full Galactic Council in person. He had been invited to address everyone, and the chamber was packed with representatives eager to see the human who had saved them all. Ambassador Telrin, counselors, Morrison began. When we received your distress call, we came because we understood what it means to face extinction. Earth has faced it before. Humanity has faced it many times. We survived because when things were darkest, we refused to give up. He paused and looked around at all the different alien species. You called us Deathworlders. You were afraid of us, and honestly, you were smart to be afraid. We are dangerous. We come from a world that tried to kill us for millions of years, and we became very good at killing back. Some counselors shifted uncomfortably, but Morrison continued. But here is what else we are. We are the species that looked at stars we could never reach and built spaceships anyway.